I'm sure you'll understand it. Variation on a theme by William Carlos Williams. I have eaten the tamales that were on the stove heating and which you were probably having for dinner. Perdóname, they were riquísimos, so juicy and so steaming hot. And that's, the preface is longer than my poem.
Bravo, bravo.
Anyway, so that's a takeoff on, Kinoko is a major, one of the book has two, my book has two epigraphs, and one is from Kenneth Coke, a poem, some lines from a poem called Permanently. He says, one day the nouns were clustered in the street. An adjective walked by with her dark beauty. The nouns were struck, moved, changed. The next day a verb drove up and created the sentence. See how he did that? Very nice, very nice. And then I won't read the Spanish one, but anyway, it gets at the aesthetics, what it takes to words. It takes words to create the poem. And then sometimes you can have a social message, political message, cultural, historical message as well. And that's what the next one, epigraph gets at, but I won't read it. Let me read this poem. It's from this book. I'll use this. I'm not going to read this tomorrow night, Saturday night. It's about my grandmother. It has to do with, it's a work poem. Toward the end of the poem, it says something about a movement with a capital letter. We don't know what movement it is. You don't know, but you can read into it. Is it the women's movement? This is the kind of life that my grandmother had 9 children, as you will find out. Whether her life, what I'm asking is whether her life would have been just a little bit easier had the movement showed up in her time. What movement is this? The women's movement, or just the social movement, the Chicano movement, what? Or all three? Okay? So that's the reference at the end. It's for my grandmother, Clara Solana Rios. She was born in Eagle Pass, Texas, 1885, San Marcos, Texas, 1965. It's titled Now, Sons Later, S-U-N-S, no, son, Now, Sons Later. You don't have this poem. The century heaved a turn, and 7 years later, she took him for the life of her. She made sure Granddad arose for the love of her. That yielding belly put 9 screaming mouths at a simple table. She left no one unweaned, unwanted, was up before the sun struck dawn, kneading tortillas to keep a race going. And when dawn's colors flooded the lasting fields, she walked into light, finding her place in the arrogant sun. She too went tilling the yielding earth, and to the blazing wind sparks flew from sun-struck stones scraped by her quick thinning hoe. Her lean, strong digging round the first juices of cotton, life seed smothered in mean temperatures of 100. And after the timely rain, she picked it by the baleful, and when it came back to her, her threads like rainbows gave shape to warmth. From ready remnants, she patterned light, glowing quilts. From remnants of remnants, she braided a rug, and pillows, high and ruffled, came from feathers of Sunday chickens. The 30s brought her into the city, but not to rest yet. How could she, with a family following the sun round a farm still? Arm-weary, that solitary washer stooped because she had to over her only washboard. Her slim life bending like a cornstalk, fragile in the middle of a spring wind. Her ringing fingers making clean a family of wet wash, freeing it again from earth. And having hardly rested before supper, she rinsed clear the outdoors on window panes. Then, because every day was a God, we assembled at her feet in Bible black nights and heard in Spanish the Presbyterian prophets speak with clarity. We lingered in her words, and we believed her faith. When asked about torn history, she'd squint past you through wrinkles into that imaginary distance of infinite cotton fields, recalling her favorite dawns, the drought of 25, the Christmas of '48 when her 3 quick sons marched out of the distant seas. I see her garden fresh turned in an hour's time, how under the falling light she goes trimming the twilight of leaves, caressing buds almost afire, making a spring bloom year-round from flower pots, her cupped hands kindling a wilting flower back to light. I saw her last in '64 when the army took me to its cold bivouacs. Her eyes were sharp with pain, and she sighed more than usual. Ay, que afán, she ached. Oh, what a chore. A year later, the letter, airmail from Texas, in mid-March sprouting warm, spoke of how still our garden had become, how the quick of the sun came up no more one sudden gray and absent morning. Now, suns later, on this dawn near freezing, with a promise of sure snow, I am sustained, thinking back how much she strained in radiant need. Why no movement, push to slow down the strides of the sun for her, that woman moving always in rhythms of labor in Texas sprawling days. Still her memory warms the day for me, and I endure, for patience must have been her only strength, her only movement, truly private, lonely. I'm surprised I got